at the top, we sometimes subconsciously raise our game and we get a good result 9 times out of 10. But we've struggled against the lesser team. But today we didn't. That must mean something.
Yeah, definitely. That's against the bottom of the league team at home. You're expected to put in a performance and get the win, and that is something that has been lacking. And I think over the years, if you look back over the years here, that the teams would come here and be put to the sword like that. And that's what we need to get more of, and that's what we saw today. We saw a bit of a ruthlessness in the finishing, 4 goals, it could have been more, but it was a comprehensive win, but it was a win that hopefully going forward is the sort of performances we see against the sort of lower teams in the league.
Of course, we'll be asking for your voting for Man of the Match. You can do it on the official Manchester United app. You have gone for Brandon Williams, Marcus Rashford and Juan Mata. Let's go through them one at a time. Why is Mata on the list?
He's coming out of the cold, and people have always been critical of United about how they break down teams when they sit off. But I think he was a key piece of the jigsaw today. For obviously assisted too, but got in the pockets and dictated where he could. So I thought he had a really, really good game. Nearly scored towards the end as well. So yeah, for me, he was a little magician in there, and he showed some lovely touches.
Okay, another name, of course, is Marcus Rashford. Scored 2 goals, one either side of half-time. One of them, the second one, was a penalty. The first one was on the end of a brilliant cross from Juan Mata as well. Why is he on the list? For the reasons I've just pointed out, or more?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think he is sort of the benchmark now for Man United. They need to be getting players like him in that team, players that make a difference, and I think that's what he does. Every time he plays, when I've watched him, he makes the difference. He was clinical in his finishing. Obviously, one was a penalty, but he took it really well. And that goal before half-time, breaking a deadlock, that was important in these games. The longer it goes at 0-0, it becomes more and more difficult. But he is the difference in a lot of games, and I think in most games he plays, I wouldn't be surprised if he's up there for Man of the Match, because he's playing at a level that's very, very good at the minute.
He's still very young, but still or already I should say, incredibly experienced. He's 2 goals on his 200th appearance. At the other end, let's go. You got Brandon Williams, who is also one of your nominations for Man of the Match. What did he bring to the table?
He brings that energy, a lot of drive. He got forward well, he won the penalty, and he defends with a passion. You're looking late on in the game, he's flying into tackles, he doesn't stop, and I just think the standard that he brings, the effort level, and he sets the tone in every game I've seen him so far. He's not let us down, so that's why he's a nomination.
Okay, so there you go. Brandon Williams, Marcus Rashford and Juan Mata. You can vote on the official Manchester United app. Of the players we've spoken about, and others that were in and around the team, the players that came on and started, I'll ask you, Foxy, what players should we be looking at as starters for the game? I know we've got Wolves, I think, Wednesday, but for the game against Liverpool, what players do you think Solskjaer will be thinking, OK, I can't do without them against Liverpool?
I think you look at Maguire, what a big influence he had coming back in the team. The difference between the defender they're playing against a Norwich team that didn't offer a lot up front, but he certainly brings that calmness. And I think Matic as well has probably done his case no harm. The second half the other night and today as well, I thought, like I said, it's a Norwich game. The Liverpool game was a totally different animal, but I think against what was in front of them today, I thought he played well. He did his job well, and I think you need to keep them front players fit. Martial, Rashford, and Greenwood can't do much more at the minute. He's come on, he's got a goal, and he must be in all his thoughts about, do I start him, because he's doing everything you need to do. As a sub, he's coming on and scoring goals, and he's really making an impact on the game.
Danny, let me ask you about Harry Maguire. Of course, lots of talk before, not necessarily the game, but certainly building up to it, that he was not only not going to play, but not going to be fit for maybe 2 months. And of course, that was all a load of nonsense, thankfully. What does he bring, not just to the team when they start playing, but what does he do to the minds of teammates that they know he's going to be fit, he's going to be available, and he's going to be playing? What does that do mentally to the other players?
I think if you look over the past couple of years, that centre-back spot has been who plays there, who's a starter, who's the partnership, is it one of a number of players. Since he's come in, he's the one name that you say will start, and you look at him and he's a sort of player you'd go, right, I'm glad he's playing, because he's got a presence, he brings a calmness, he's good on the ball, he's good in both boxes, and for United to get that level of player, they need someone alongside him now to complement that or to own that position. So far, I don't think Lindelof's quite done it yet. I like the look of Tuanzebe, and it's just a case of who's going to take that second spot. But for me, he's number one, and he brings all the attributes that a leader and a captain would bring.
Ollie made all 3 substitutions today. One of them on 71 minutes was Greenwood coming on for Pereira, and it took him only 5 minutes to score what was a fantastic goal. Just talk us through the goal. Of course, people wouldn't have seen it, so just talk us through just how he hit it, where he hit it from. It was a spectacular strike, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Once he gets in that area, sort of around the edge of the box. We've seen it numerous times. That left foot finish, he's deadly with it. He finishes across the keeper or near post, but once he's lining up to shoot, you fully expect him to score. He hits the target more often than not, and like I said earlier, he can't do much more than what he's doing in terms of his goals, his impact on games, and it's exactly what you want from a young player.
Is he wasted out wide? We've seen him being used by Ollie quite a few times out wide. We know, of course, he's prolific going through the middle, and he can play with either foot. I think he takes free kicks. You've seen him on take free kicks and penalties with left hand and his right foot. So he's obviously got a ridiculous amount of talent. Is he wasted out wide then?
I wouldn't say he's wasted. He just brings a different skill set to the party when he plays out wide. He comes from a different angle. I've seen him play out wide. I've seen him play centre mid through the youth system. There's times when I've seen him run from one end of the pitch to the other, doing tricks along the way. He's a total footballer. Obviously, with his goal-scoring prowess, you want him through the middle, but he's come on in a different position today, come from deep, and still been able to show his magic and get his shot away and get his goal. So
it's a nice headache to have, isn't it, when you've got a group of players like him, like Rashford, like Martial, that look not necessarily on fire, but certainly they're hitting a bit of form. Why don't we play 2 up front? Traditionally United have always played 4-4-2, wingers, etc., and look great with 2 up front. Maybe in the past you could argue we've only played 1 down the middle because we perhaps haven't had the right players or 2 good enough to play together. But surely we do now. From the 3 I've mentioned, 2 of them can play together, can't they?
I think there is that option. I think with the playing 1 up front and the sort of 2 wide, we saw it with Marcus in the first half. It's important that those playing out wide don't stay out wide too much. They have to get in the middle. They have to get and join with whoever's playing in the middle, whether it's Martial today. Those wide players have to come in, have to help out and be a goal threat. And we saw Marcus score first half from that position. We saw Mason in the second half from that position. If you are going to play there, you have to bring a goal threat, and that's what they've done today. They've started the starting positions might be out wide, but they've got to get in where it hurts. Like we talk about Salah and Mar, they're goal scoring, they play out wide, but very rarely do they stay out there. They go in positions that hurt defences, and that's what we've got with Marcus and Mason today. They've got in positions to score goals, and they've took the chance.
2 other players we've not really talked about, of course, are Fred and Pereira. Why have we not talked about them yet, Danny?
I think Fred and Pereira, that they're not. There's no bells and whistles to them at this moment in time. I think Fred I think has improved a hell of a lot. I think his level of performance has gone up. He's puts his effort in always. I think Pereira, sometimes you want to see a little bit more, and when I say a bit more, he puts his effort in, but you want to see a little bit more end product. He's got the ability to shoot from distance. He's got the ability, but you just want to see him believe it a little bit more. We saw the goal he scored. I think it was against Southampton last year. I may be wrong. He scored from distance. He's got that in his locker, but you want to see it a little bit more consistently. So I think there's other players shining, but those are, especially Fred, he's been a little bit more of the heartbeat in the middle of the park. Do you get a different kind of player if they are brought into the team when the squad is fully fit? So for argument's sake, you're talking about Pereira, you're talking about Fred. I use Phil Jones as another example. Players that are probably suffering for a bit of confidence at the moment. But if you've got the position where everyone's fit and you don't necessarily start these players, you can bring them on with 15 minutes to go, give them a little bit of confidence. Whereas at the moment, because I hate to use the phrase, I know it's such a cliche in football, down to the bare bones, but if you're in that situation and you have to use these players from the start, they're under the spotlight a lot more. Is it more difficult for players like Pereira and Fred to prove themselves because they've got to do it from the start, they've got to do it for 90, rather than come on and play a little cameo role with 10 minutes to go? I think there's no hiding place. And that's what, if you are the player that comes on for 10, 15 minutes, ultimately you're asking the manager for a starting place. So when you've got you're down to the bare bones, as you say, and Fred's played now, if we talk about him, consistently for the majority of the season, you then have to perform. You have to perform. You have to improve. So no, it's not necessarily more difficult. Mentally, it's more difficult when you're out of the team and you're not getting the opportunity to show what you can do. Once you're in the team, it's up to you whether you produce the standard of football that is required at this football club.
OK. More from the boys in just a moment. Of course, more from you. If you want, you can get involved. Pick up the phone, 0161236 1968. We'll hear from them. We'll hopefully hear from you right after we hear from Paddy and Stuart.
A thumping win for Manchester United, and the smiles restored at Old Trafford. Special day for Marcus Rashford, his 200th appearance for the club, and he scores 2 goals. The first made by a glorious clip over the top by Juan Mata. Rashford at the far post, 1-0. Worth pointing out that De Gea made a fabulous save from Cantwell to make sure United went in leading at half-time, but it was all United in the second half. Brandon Williams fouled by Krull, penalty kick. Krull's an expert penalty saver, couldn't keep out that one from Rashford. That was 2-0. Then a towering header from Martial from a lovely right-wing cross from Juan Mata, and then substitute Mason Greenwood with what is fast becoming a trademark left footer crashed into the corner of net from around 20 yards. 4-0, could have been many more. And as I said, Pat, smiles are back on faces here.
Well, it's the way they're playing, Stuart. I think it's the standard of play that makes people smile in actual fact. I mean, you see some of the performances. Mata was terrific today. I mean, we keep on about the young kid in the middle of the park as well. Greenwood, terrific player he is. How important was the save from De Gea? How important was that? They brought Norwich back into the game at 1 each. But what a goalkeeper we've got, Stuart. We keep on about the goalkeeper every week. I mean, we've strolled through this game comfortably, winning 4-0. But we're still talking about what a save the goalkeeper made to make the game comfortable.
Unmistakable youthful verve, though, about United today. I thought we were pretty hungry, actually.
Well, they're young players, Stuart. If they're not hungry, there's something wrong with you. And you're a young player, you get to Manchester United team. You want to stay in the team. And the only way you'll stay in the team is if you play well. Show the manager that you want to play there. As I said, Mata was outstanding today again.
Well, United play Norwich at Old Trafford. You know it's going to be 4-0. And guess what? It was 4-0.
It was indeed. And look who we've been joined by. It's the wonderful... Are you a sir, yeah?